I'm joined by Kristy Walden of Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. And you know, Kristy, this entire show, we're talking a lot about beading, you know, on different cords and different materials. And you brought a great array with you. You want to talk about that?
There's just an amazing amount of cording that you can use to do any kind of design. The cords are used for weight. They're used for the color that you want to attract. You've got all kinds of yarns that you can use.
It's beautiful.
Jute, hemp, leather.
Endless.
It's never end. It's endless.
And you know what I like about the display that you brought here is the fact that using just that element can really change the design
Completely changes
of a piece and really get incorporated into the look of a design.
It also it matters a lot with the weight of the beads that you're using.
Right. So you'd be specific. Well, you've also brought along with you a Marlene McNutt design.
Yes.
Which is just absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't
and you're
it?
going to give us some tips on how to make that.
Right. This piece is really, it looks daunting as to how many beads are in it, and it's really quite heavy. So what was chosen was it's a twine, it's a bonded twine to use it, and there are really only 2 bead strands in it.
Okay, so 2 different types of bead
Absolutely.
strands. Okay.
Different types of beads, but two strands. One is the mother of pearl. Right. And there are 4 strands of those.
Okay.
And when you're doing a project like this, this is not done in 5 minutes.
Right.
So you really have to pay attention and you have to take notes. I take copious notes on what I'm doing with a piece like this.
So
and
4 of them is the mother of pearl, and then what are the other 4 would be just your different assortment of beads,
the gemstones.
Okay.
We've got gemstones.
Great. So tell us how we get started.
Okay.
Now, you were saying that you take copious notes, which is good, just to keep track of where you are.
Just to keep track. Because you get phone calls and you're distracted from it.
Yes.
Okay? Then the first, when you're doing all of the mother of pearl, we're going to be knotting them. This is all knotted.
Okay.
And so when you have to have the needle that's going to go through all of the beads.
Okay.
And you pull it down.
This is a pretty...
Right. It's really
flexible.
simple.
Okay.
It's really simple. You put your knot.
And what material are you using?
This one is twine.
Twine? Okay.
Now I use an awl so that I can determine where that knot is going to go. I push it up.
Okay.
Pull it out.
That makes it easier and more precise.
It's that easy.
Which is great.
You attach each one of these to the connectors.
Okay.
There's 4 of those.
Okay.
Then you move on to the gemstones.
So there's 4 of the same of that with the connector on it.
Right.
And then
we're moving into the gemstone type.
Now, is there a particular way that you select all of your beads, or just...
You do it by color. You do it by the types of beads that you want to combine with your shells. I mean, it's really just a...
Yeah, so it's just
there's so many different kinds of beads, too.
Exactly.
Now, I lay them out on a bead board. And the bead board is going to give me my length so that I know exactly what I'm doing in my lengths.
Right.
But I lay them out so that it's easy when I am distracted. If the phone rings and I walk away, then I can come back and know exactly where I'm at in my beading process.
Okay.
Excellent tool.
With the beads, is there a particular one that you choose? Like you were talking about putting the needle through with that one. Do you look for where the opening is? Is there a particular side with the bead?
Absolutely. One thing with gemstones, and that's what all of these are, they are drilled and they have a top and a bottom.
Oh, okay.
And the top, the hole is larger than the bottom. So if you pay attention to that bead and you use your needle through the top, it's going to pull much easier.
See, now that's a great tip.
Yes.
Because then you can just look at that and just make your life that much easier when
it
you're
may
doing
make it tedious, but it really makes a lot of sense.
Saves time in the end, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when you're working on a project that's so detailed, you know, which is
exactly.
Great. And what do we have here?
So then here, this is the beading of the gemstones. And I've added on, if you'll notice over here, there are dangles.
Okay.
So each of the gemstones on this piece, there's 4 again.
Okay, so 4 strands of the gemstones.
4 strands of the gemstones, but they have dangles hanging down. And they're all connected there in the middle. So what you do is you pick a bead that has a side cut, not a top cut.
Okay. String it through.
And you pull it through. Now, it gets a little bit tight when you're doing a double, so
Right.
you have your pliers and you pull it. And you'll see what I mean. It gets tight. It's having to go through 2 of the cords.
Oh, that's right.
Okay?
So
But
that's
you
a
pull
good
it,
tip.
you get it there. You have to pay attention to that because I call it a gotcha. Gotcha.
But it's nice to know that it's going to, be aware of that, to know that it's
Exactly.
coming up.
You have to know what
So
you
that's
need
good.
to know. Okay.
Now, so you make 4 of these as well.
Exactly.
And then you're going to attach it to the 4 of them with the shells that you made earlier.
Right.
Now look at the dangle. Let's get a close-up of the
Okay.
dangles. And you were talking about how to start attaching those.
Well, this attaches, each one of these it doesn't come all the way around. They're each separate and they come down to the bottom.
Right.
2 of them are attached through a Botsuania agate, which is in the very center. And they come down and again do all of the dangles.
Right. So 4 of them have ends and 4 of them have the clasps on the end?
Correct.
Of it? Okay.
Correct.
So this way they can attach that way.
Right. The complete instructions are on the website.
Okay. Which is great.
Exactly.
Makes it a lot easier.
Right.
Well, that seemed pretty good. Well, you brought some other examples that, such a great demonstration of how to really use different types of cording.
Right.
Let's start with this first one.
Well, this is another one. This is hemp. And it's another one with shells. You have to pay attention to weight because shells are heavy, especially with that many.
I'm sure that would be a really big quality in deciding which cord to use.
Right.
And that next one.
And the next one is another type of shell, and it has a drape. And those are all just tied on. They're just knotted.
So it's just by knotting.
It's just knotting.
Love it. And then the middle piece?
The next one is shells and turquoise. And then coral.
Yeah.
It's a raw coral.
Wow.
Just added, and it's crocheted.
Wow. It's gorgeous. And then look at the large pieces in the last one, in the last 2. Or the next to the last one, I should say.
The next to the last one is a crocheted piece.
And those
has
are
the
more
silver.
stitching in between.
Right. It's just crocheted in between each of the shells.
And then, of course,
And then the last one, the eyelash, is also crocheted with beading.
It's lovely. It's just lovely. Thanks, Kristy.
You bet. Thank you.
Well, next up, we have something really fun. Jean Campbell is going to introduce us to beaded wedding designs, and you don't want to miss that.